So you had the idea for today's topic. Do you want to explain it?
Well, so we were going to talk about something else, but we decided against it since it's Halloween. And so I was like, trick or treat. Obviously, you start with trick or treat. And we were thinking surprises in recovery, because even if you're not doing 12-step or whatever, it's like the surprises or the shocks or the
yeah, you can also have treats.
Things, yeah, exactly. Things that you can't anticipate.
Yeah.
And that they can be good, they can be bad, but some, I don't know about you, but being a Virgo, I like to know what's around the corner.
I am a Virgo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I like to know what's around the corner. I've been one of those people. It's like, and I like good surprises. I don't like bad surprises.
Do you know I love surprises? Okay. I love surprises.
So you like haunted houses, huh?
I do like haunted houses, but I love surprises. Like, I love being surprised. You want to know a secret?
But in a good way.
Yeah. Well, actually, we can talk about that. Yeah. I actually have room. Like, I think I've talked about this before. I kind of like secretly like when things don't work out the way you plan them to. Of course, it's easier for me to say that with things that don't feel high stakes.
Yeah,
like exactly. Right now I'm applying for these.
Oh, I was thinking about that term. I was thinking about that term, high stakes, because I was talking to my sponsor and I was thinking about situations that are not high stakes. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, like high stake things are hard for me to kind of like just roll with. But like in general, I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to things not working out. And the reason why that is because I like to think that when things don't work out, it's like God presenting himself, and it's also lifing, and like, and I feel like I'm witnessing like humanity. Like I'm witnessing this, like the most raw form of what it means to live is like the shit that happens when it's like the stuff that we didn't plan for.
Yeah. I don't know that I'm like you in that sense. I always hope that things work out. I appreciate after the fact.
Yeah.
The more that like things don't work out exactly, and then I get to, and this is why, like, especially with drag and when I'm hosting, when I'm doing things like that, I practice the third step. Like I put what I put into it, and then I turn it over.
Well, can I tell you what it feels like when things don't work out? Like the feeling I get, it to me, it feels like it feels like God. Like it feels like to me is like God is showing himself, and like so I get kind of giddy when it happens. Like, for example, the last time I remember it happened, like I was at my friend's place, and like she had made this like big deal about having this like movie night, and nothing worked out. And I remember just like sitting there like laughing and thinking to myself like, oh, this is so fun. Like in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is so fun, because this means the thing that's supposed to happen is gonna like how to explain this? It's basically, I'm like, something's going to come in lieu of the thing that we thought was supposed to happen, and this thing to me feels so raw. It feels like this is the thing. It's like God shows his hand. And so what ended up happening is we ended up having this like fantastic night where we were just like eating and chatting and stuff like that. So yeah, I kind of secretly like it when things don't work out.
Like you said, the lower the stake, because if it's
lower the stakes,
if it's higher stake, like it's hard not to kind of like have your worth tie into
it. Of course. Yeah, of course. I mean, I think about, well, even, and I think, okay, when things are high stakes, I think what's difficult for me is to enjoy that in the immediate. Like in the immediate, it's hard for me to be like, oh, this is God presenting himself.
Yeah.
But it's I do eventually,
after the fact.
Yeah, I do eventually get there, like I had an experience like that recently. I won't go into detail, but basically I had this moment where I was like, oh shit, like God's plans are always better than mine. And even if it took so many years, like,
yeah,
I think we were already talking about today's topic.
Exactly. I was thinking about that. It's like because that's always a surprise, because I think that how we joke and say it's like addicts and alcoholics don't know the difference between a bad day or the end of the world.
Yeah.
Like we had a conversation, or I think wasn't it the topic Sunday night emotional sobriety
last week?
On Sunday.
Emotional
sobriety. And I was thinking about what I, if I was going to answer that, emotional sobriety is being okay with the idea that things are not going to be okay, and not feeling like it's the end of the world. It's like emotional sobriety is accepting that I'm not always going to be happy, I'm not always going to be sad, I just am, and I get to show up and deal with it. And it's not that the world is out to get me or anything's out to get me. It just is, and I get to decide how I'm going to respond, and that's a fucking surprise,
Yeah, you're reminding me. There was I forget the name of the book, but basically, it was saying I was reading this book, and it was saying that in developing a relationship with a power greater than yourself, that you can take whatever you want to God. And one of the things that it was saying is if you're angry and you don't believe in God, then you can scream at God, and you can curse at God, you can scream at God, you can take whatever you want to God.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the idea, maybe where I'm thinking and God looks at you lovingly.
Yeah, exactly.
God is oh, look at my child throwing a tantrum, or look at, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And looks at you lovingly. And that to me, I feel is emotional sobriety.
Yeah.
The ability to hold conflicting feelings, to be with yourself, that feels like emotional sobriety. There is, for example, I think what I've learned over time is that there is a way of suffering soberly, and I think for me, suffering soberly is, oh, what's interesting? Because as I was thinking about this, I was I started to do absolutes in my head. I think in absolutes, but I think suffering soberly is not feeling, not trying to throw your pain at other people.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Including at yourself, but taking it somewhere. And I think, I guess in this conversation, to be taking it to your concept of what a higher power can be. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I don't think looking back that I would ever picture myself saying the shit that I'm saying right now.
Oh, of course not. No, it's well, yeah, it's wow. I was listening to the suffering soberly. It's is it even suffering if you're taking it somewhere?
Yeah, of course.
Well,
I don't know. Should we look up suffering?
No, it's not suffering. Well, yeah, let's look up suffering.
Okay. Well, while you're looking it up,
I know it's
suffering in silence. Yeah, but I'm also thinking of treats of recovery. I guess those things are treats too.
I know. Well, exactly. It's I think that it's easy to think that something like that would not be a treat, but when I was in a place where I didn't understand, or I was not able to kind of accept or appreciate what the benefit of it, I ran from it. I couldn't see, you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah. Can I tell you something interesting that's been happening to me recently?
The state of undergoing pain or distress or hardship.
Yeah.
Weapons that cause unnecessary. So the state of undergoing pain or distress. So if it's a process, I guess it is suffering.
Yeah. Yeah. What's been happening to me recently is so I've been working really hard on finalizing these applications. I got a hair in my mouth, and neither one of us have hair, so I don't know what that was about.
Why'd you include me in this?
Because we're I mean, who else's hair would be on my mic?
Okay. Bonnie Violet's.
Oh,
they were,
girl. So
hi, Bonnie Violet.
Hi, Bonnie Violet.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Something that's been happening to me recently is over the last couple of weeks, although I've been tired, I have also been feeling very grounded and confident and self-esteem.
Because you're a pillar.
Stop.
A pillar.
Don't start that.
Wacka, wacka, wacka.
But I've just been feeling really confident and very grateful. And these are relatively new things for me. I've been cultivating these things self-esteem and confidence, and they've been coming, and whatever. Some days are better than others, but
what? Okay, so
you were on a roll today.
Okay, so we start this process.
I'm gonna write this down before.
Yeah, we start this process with recovery, and you know how it seems like it takes forever to get to a good place with it, but I think that it's working, it's magic, it's doing what it needs to do, and when we start to feel it, that's the point when it comes to fruition.
Yeah,
we start to it's So you say I thought about that because when you were saying it's recent, but it's not.
Oh, it's like growing. Yeah.
It's not. It's like everything that you did leading up to it, even when you didn't feel right, even when you weren't, was a part of the process. Even the discomfort, even the bad experiences were a part of you being able to walk out of this and shine, and that's pretty cool.
I love when you talk about stuff like this because you kind of like light up and get really excited.
Because I don't know,
that's really cool.
It's amazing. It's amazing to be able to kind of see it, because when you're in it, you don't necessarily see it, and it's hard to imagine being out of it.
Yeah, can I tell you? So going back to what I was saying, which is related to what you're saying. Am I kicking that? Did I just kick that? I'm a mess. I am the absolute worst. I am so glad that we are not hired, because then I'd be fired. But what I was thinking of is, so confidence is that my relationship to God at this point is like unquestionable, undeniable. Mm-hmm. And it feels like ever present in my life. And that to me feels really amazing. And what's interesting is that, and perhaps like not surprising to you, is that it's come because I think I really have just been focused on like the next right thing. And I have also stopped fighting. Mm-hmm. Like I'm not fighting as much. I mean, I'm human, so I'm going to have feelings,
absolutely.
Which
or knowing when to fight, because if we were fighting all the time and being defiant and always challenging everything instead of just kind of sitting back, listening, taking it in, and I think.
Oh, yeah. The other thing I've been noticing, also, if folks are listening in, we love to hear about your tricks and treats.
Absolutely. And something that we didn't talk about last week that I feel like we need to talk about.
What?
Last week was our 100th episode.
That's right. Or 101.
101.
Brandon, which was it?
It's 100.
Today is 101. Today is 101. So
we had like a pre-episode, just to kind of test the waters. It was like kind of our training wheel episode, but it was our 100 episode. So we're in syndication. Oh my God, this is
amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah, it is.
I think, I keep getting hair in my mouth. I've just remembered that we had a bunch of drag queens. We like let the drag queens borrow our mics.
Is it like black and coarse?
That would be my beard. No. My beard is black and coarse. I know what you're implying. I know. I don't know what, unless people have learned how to make the genitals talk, I don't see why that would be on the mic.
No, I'm talking about it. It's probably been there from before.
Okay. we're like loaning our mics to some studio. But I've been thinking about like mindfulness, like mindfulness practices, and it's just been really wild. I mean, like recovery has just been really wild recently. I was talking to my sponsor yesterday, who I absolutely love, Krylon. Shout out to Krylon.
Hey, Krylon.
Yeah, I was talking to her yesterday. It wasn't yesterday, a little bit, and it was just so funny because we were talking and like she does not mince words, and I was like saying something and she went right to the point, and I just started laughing, and I was like, "You're so annoying." I love her for that.
Okay, so we're on the right path, but we're here, there, we jump back.
I'm doing whatever I want right now.
I know, exactly. Speaking of sponsors, like I love those times, and this is interesting. I love those times when I get agitated because my sponsor will say something or call me out on something or whatever, or word it in a way that really kind of exposes me. And it's like, and I'll get annoyed, but underneath it, I'm like, yeah, this is exactly why I chose this person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I those are those moments of reaffirming, like, okay, yeah, this is exactly where, this is the relationship I'm supposed to be in.
I don't know why this is reminding me of this, but I tell you about the conversation I had with my Al-Anon sponsor, and my Al-Anon sponsor was saying, she goes, your sponsees don't have what you want. You have what they want. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that. I know you your Al-Anon sponsor was probably in a very thoughtful way, asking if you wanted to kind of renew.
Oh yeah, that was part of not the same conversation, but okay.
Yeah. I pay attention.
What?
No, I pay attention.
I know you do. I know you pay attention.
I'm like an elephant.
So trick or treat. I don't know if that's a true thing. Like, not that you're not an elephant, that you don't think like that you remember. Do elephants really remember things? Like, do they? Can we Google that too? Brandon is saying yes, because apparently he's a zoologist.
Okay, so what I will say is I remember the
He's an elephanologist.
I remember the things that I value. I remember a lot of things. A lot of times what will happen is like I will I may something maybe like in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And it'll come up at just like the right time or whatever. It's like I'm like, oh yeah, I got that. But yeah, I remember conversations.
I know you do.
Yeah.
So
you were
no trick or treat.
Yeah.
Trick or treat. So I thought a trick or treat. Can I just share something about Halloween?
Yes, please.
Okay. So when I was a kid, I was obsessed with vampires, and for years, all throughout middle school, I dressed like a vampire. I think there may have been like one
for Halloween or every day. I mean,
my family was not that cool. No, it was just for Halloween. I would dress like a vampire every single year. And what's funny about that is like even during the year when it wasn't Halloween, I would do my hair to look like a vampire.
There was a year where there wasn't Halloween. Is that?
No, because all throughout middle school, I was a vampire.
Oh, okay.
Vampire is like my go-to costume.
It's easy.
But I haven't done it in such a long time. Oh, it's like my favorite. Yeah. In fact, the Maybelline show.
Labeling?
My first year, I was in here and I dressed like Lestat from Interview with a Vampire.
You had a blonde wig on?
It wasn't blonde. It was a white wig.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Anyway, so all throughout elementary school, I dressed like a vampire. That was my shit. Love vampires.
Nice.
Oh, and then I went through a goth phase in high school.
What's the difference?
No, I went through a goth phase in middle school.
Is the only difference I think is the teeth.
The fangs.
The fangs.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was obsessed in middle school with like witchcraft and vampires and like the occult and like folklore and like divination and shit like that. Did you ever go through a phase like that? I feel like a lot of gays went through that. No. Where you were like obsessed with like witchcraft. Like I feel like for a lot of us, we saw The Craft and we all wanted to be Nancy.
I didn't want to way back from Bewitched. I wanted to be a witch.
Yeah,
I wanted to be a witch like that. But it's like I didn't have like any long kind of.
Okay, well, I guess you're better than some of us.
No, that's not it. It's like there were other things I was probably obsessed with. Like I wanted to be Wonder Woman.
Like meth.
Oh yeah, well yeah, exactly. I definitely had a deep-seated relationship with meth. we were the bestest.
I love her.
I love her. Nobody better never say nothing bad about her.
When's the last time you dressed up for Halloween? Oh, what did you dress up as?
Okay, so the last time like I really got into it, it was we all decided to do it was in sobriety. We all decided to do superheroes, and I dressed as Storm.
Oh, nice.
I had the whole outfit and a big wig and whatever, and it was cute. And we just walked around, and that was fun. There's a
comment?
No, there's a retreat that I go to.
Yeah.
It's Finding Fellowship. It's up north in the woods at Camp Meeker, St. Dorothy's Camp Meeker, and it used to be around Halloween all the time, and so we were able to go and we'd have a big costume party.
Oh, how fun!
It was easy to kind of dive in and get into the costume spirit that way. But really, honestly, it's like now what I do is like this: I just grab a hat or something,
and I'm done.
And exactly, and I like say I'm festive.
I think I've shared this with you, but I'll share it with people listening. Is that I love dressing up. Like I love dressing up like characters. Like I've been like that ever since I was a kid. Like I love working with prosthetics, like making prosthetics. I've like some of my best costumes have been like zombie costumes or like a Christmas elf or like a scarecrow. When I was a teenager, I used to work for this company. It was called Quite a Character Entertainment. And I would dress up like these different things. So like I would dress up like Elmo and go to a party, or I would do magic tricks at kids' parties, or I would do like balloon animals.
Wait, can we go back to the magic tricks?
Yeah, I would do magic tricks.
Like actual magic tricks?
Yeah, I would do like magic tricks and balloon animals, and like it was. I eventually had to stop doing that job. It was really taxing. Well, because I was working with like families that could afford to, and that was just a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I did not know that. So that's the, instead of being a clown or a magician, you could just be a vampire who does magic at those parties. That would be cool.
I just love like the transfer. You know what I'm realizing recently is that, so I come from a very artistic family. So my dad's an artist, my sister's an artist, my grandfather's a singer. One of my cousins is a professional dancer. So there's like, I come from like a lot of art. And what I'm realizing is that I really miss it. Like I miss the creative process. Like I miss.
That's why you have such disdain for creatives. Huh?
That's not true. I don't have disdain. I've noticed that every single time we've had this conversation, you increasingly turn up the volume on my dislike. And it's not even dislike. What I said is that I find it hard to work with creatives because they're scattered.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what you said. But yeah. I mean, it's like I was
you were being a troublemaker.
Pretty much.
That's what you were doing. Yeah. So trick or treat. Okay, so I'm having a meta experience right now. So I think the other thing that's been really cool, or like one of the surprises for me in recovery, is that I feel like I'm more myself than I ever was in my life. Well, first off, to be kind of like hokey, I feel like I've finally have discovered who I am in this way. And maybe part of that is just like acceptance of who I am rather than like trying not to do things. Like, okay, I overheard someone sponsoring someone today. And one of the things he was saying, I wonder how much of that I could repeat. I mean, it could literally have been a conversation about anyone.
Yeah,
I don't know. Brandon, what do you think? Okay, so should I not say anything? Okay, well, basically, so this feels very unique to San Francisco. No one's going to know. Okay,
yeah, exactly.
No one's going to know. Okay, so this was the conversation. So apparently, the sponsee like identifies as a daddy. Okay, he identifies as a daddy. And they were talking about fourth step, and apparently there were these resentments that were related to his being in this role. And so the sponsor was saying to him, like, oh, you mean to tell me that like you were fulfilling this role and you had all these preconceived ideas of what people want from you or what they expect from you, and they led to like these like maybe like unfavorable things, right? And he said, it might be just easier for you to be yourself.
Wow.
And to me, I was sitting there. I told Brandon, I was like, sometimes I'm at the club and I feel like I'm getting like secondhand sponsorship because I was like listening to this. And that's my. Let me finish my thought. Oh. You've interrupted me 3 times already.
Have I? While you were saying this? Have I really interrupted you? Okay.
I love you so much. You're like, while I was.
Go ahead.
So, okay, let me get it together. So he, okay. I'm coming back. I'm here. So, so he was saying, it's easier to just be yourself. It's easier to just be vulnerable and say what's coming up for you. And I was like, oh man, like I can relate to that, because basically, like, to me, when I heard that, it reminded me a lot of how it says in the big book, Heavenly Cease fighting everyone and everything, including alcohol. And so I was like, yeah, we like when I've in a way, I almost feel like sobriety hasn't necessarily beaten me down. I don't know what it is. There is this kind of like taming, but it's like a good taming. It's like the kind of surrender that actually gives you freedom. It's the kind of like the way like life opens up when you stop trying to control it, Are you deliberately being quiet now?
Well, I am, but I'm listening. It's like, wait, I can't win from losing. It's like oh my God. It's like I am listening. I am not interrupting. And you're like, what are you doing over there? No. Are you messing with me? Oh my God. It's like, okay, I'm so sorry. What should I do, huh? Yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah.
No, I just wasn't sure. Well, if you were, because I was looking at your mouth, and your mouth is never really closed whenever we talk, just by the way. And I was like, is he deliberately relaxed?
Like,
well, no, like, do you know what I'm saying?
Jab, poke.
No, I'm not. There's no jabbies or pokies.
Okay, so I feel like what you were talking about is acceptance.
What do you mean?
No, you
or
were
like how?
No, you were saying it's like, what you were referring to, like to me it sounds like it's acceptance. Like when I stop fighting, when I stop, when I stop challenging or whatever, I'm getting acceptance around who I'm. Like I can accept that I am not a big game night person. I love the fellowship, but I don't want to play the games.
Yeah.
Every now and then, it's like, well, that's fine, and I don't. And in that acceptance, I don't need to fight with anybody or challenge anything or It's like when I make that complete sentence, like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not going to play. It's not a slight on anybody, and it's not an insult to somebody who loves playing games. I think it's great. It's just I don't usually want to play because. Yeah, I don't want to play.
Yeah, I relate to that. What you're making me think of is that in a lot of ways, I think that I'm going to speak in general terms, but I'm probably just referring to myself. Mm-hmm. I think many of us who struggle are really actually looking for permission to be ourselves. And I feel like we get permission to be ourselves when we see ourselves reflected in other people. Mm-hmm. And so like something that's coming up for me is like a while ago, someone said like there was like one of the beach events, and they were saying, I went to that beach event and it made me really anxious, and I'm realizing like I don't need to do stuff like that. And I was listening to him and I was like, oh, that's right. Like there's nothing wrong with you if like that's just not something that you want to do. I also had like a similar experience recently where I was talking about something with my I'm like, do I want to talk about that? Did you have anything you want to talk about? Was something coming up for you?
No,
I'm like censoring in real time. Go ahead. We have a comment. Jaylon.
Great topic.
Brandon told us that we're not allowed to yell Jaylon, so I just whispered Jaylon.
I know, Jaylon, but he doesn't have it in his ear
Jaylon,
now.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, Jaylon's alter ego co-hosted with me this weekend, and they did a lovely job.
I want to say that Jaylon's drag character is a rising star, but it almost feels like it's not even a rising star. It's
not
like,
rising.
You were already a star. Like,
yeah.
Like I've never. It's kind of wild. Like you can't say right. Like, can someone just be a star? Yeah, I guess so. Jaylon, I think that's.
Well, I think unlike a lot of folks who start doing drag in recovery, Jaylon already had like experience.
Is that right, Jaylon? Can you let us know?
Seoni Gray was already kind of a performer.
Oh, I didn't know that. But actually, I did know that.
And so part of me asking Jaylon to co-host is I have ulterior motives because I'm trying to get.
Well, don't spill tea too soon.
No, it's like I've already said it's like I want Jaylon's alter ego to be more involved in the sober community and do other things, and so
she was established before recovery.
Absolutely, see, exactly.
One of the things I appreciate about Jaylon, Seoni. What a great name, Seoni. Or the way Jaylon.
I think it's like Bonnie Violet.
What did I tell you about you?
Seoni Gray.
Seoni Gray.
You know what? You could tell me all week long, but I'm going to do it. Okay. Don't get told today.
Don't get. I think a booger just came out of my nose, so now we have hair and boogers on the mic.
Oh, I'm going to mark that.
Not actually. However, it's better now because I can remember everything.
Yes.
What I wanted to say is like I love the way, Jaylon is actually the first person I've ever talked to about drag. And well, no, that's not what I wanted to say. What I wanted to say is that Jaylon is the first person to talk about drag from this spiritual perspective. I realize that's also Bonnie Violet's tea, like that's her jam. But Jaylon is actually the first person I've ever met to actually discuss the character in like spiritual terms, which is really interesting.
I've never discussed it in spiritual terms with you.
No.
Ever?
Okay, girl, maybe.
No, okay.
Okay.
No, see,
Did I interrupt you during this? How many times?
I was being attacked earlier for not paying attention.
Wait, have you talked about? Well, actually, I have heard you talk about it in spiritual terms, but the first time I heard you talk about it in spiritual terms was in that interview that you were in. Oh. That was the first time I'd ever heard you talk about like her conception, which was also really beautiful. But it doesn't fit what I was talking about.
No, go ahead.
That was
go ahead. Let me make sure that I don't interrupt you.
I don't remember what I was going to say. But yeah, things are pretty cool. There was something that happened in this room earlier today.
Oh, I think that so trick or treat. One of the surprises, like one of the things that surprised me constantly is how much I'm able to, this idea of caring enough about people, but not caring enough about people to my own detriment.
Okay.
Because and what I mean is like, I grew up thinking that I should kind of like not have my the things that are important to me, or like if I'm going through something, not to make it about not to make it the end all be all,
Yeah.
That I get to process it, but other people, like there are starving kids in Africa. That thing that moms do when you don't eat or whatever, or when you want to complain about something.
What are you talking about?
What? Okay, let me work through it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Let me work through
I didn't mean to say it with that tone.
Well, yes, you did, because you said it that way. Okay. So here, what I'm saying is like, okay, so when something is of value to you,
okay,
something is important to you, and you're not in a place to kind of express it in a way that you need to or whatever, and then you got somebody who shuts you down because they don't want, I'm stumbling through this, but
that's okay. Stumble.
Yeah. I care about people now, but I will not care about them to my detriment. Meaning, like, I used to hang out with people who like only wanted to do things they wanted to do, and so I didn't think about like the things I like to do. Like, how you like going to escape rooms, but what if you're hanging out with people who you care about who think that's stupid, and so they never want to take into consideration anything you do, But now it's like I do to a limit. I look up and I care about people, but I care about me. Yeah. And maybe more sometimes I have to.
That's interesting. What that brings up for me is I'm just thinking about how, sometimes I do things like a labor of love, sometimes I do things that I don't necessarily want to do. Although, okay. Like, I think there's some things that I do because I know it's making someone happy. Like, it isn't necessarily something that I want to do.
Absolutely.
But it feels good to know that I'm doing something that makes someone happy. And that to me is enough, Mm-hmm. And conversely, like, I know there is also like one of the ways that I think that I express love is by also trying to like enjoy the things that like the people around me or like people closest to me, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, maybe I'll sit through a movie I don't want to see because, someone wants to that I care about. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Like, I think that's one of I think that's a big thing that's come from recovery, where all of my like aspirations and goals before I got sober were like very egotistical. They were about like material gain. They were about like the things that I could acquire or do to make myself look good. And I have, through like sobriety or recovery, I've gotten to this place where I really just want to live a life of service, and I have lived a life of service. Mm-hmm. And that to me is wild. I never in a million years thought like that would be where I land. I sincerely like, I just want to do, I feel happiest and most connected when I'm being useful, when I'm being helpful. Like I feel the most grounded when I am like tapping into my capacity to love, which is not something that I think can exist if I am reserving it. Like, I think, do you know what I'm trying to say here? Yeah. Where it's like, I don't think it's love if I only save it for some people. Like, I think that love in the way that I conceptualize it is something that you kind of like that grows the more that you cultivate and pour it out for people around you. And like that doesn't mean that I am taking on like the world's issues, but I do think that like there's so many avenues to connect with people and to come from like a loving and supportive spiritual place, and that can actually be very like life affirming and like yeah, like life affirming and growing. I guess I'm trying to describe something that's kind of woo woo, you know, but is very much something that brings me a lot of life. Like sometimes I just like I love coming to the club, the Castro Country Club, just like sitting down sometimes like in the room and just being around everyone, you know, and just like feeling the vibes and the energy and like the conversations and seeing people come back, you know, come in and out. And like, there's something really nice about just being, I guess maybe in the center of the lifeboat, you know? And that's new, you know. I never like what the fuck is all of that?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
What the fuck is all of that? And I think the last thing I want to say is that I don't know, I think that there's also this kind of I really do have faith in humanity, and like maybe even to my detriment, you know, like I still get annoyed. I like of course I have human responses, but I do think that like in the end, I'm much more forgiving and open than I ever was before.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah. We have a comment. That's not a comment.
I like to go dancing. Most of my friends
like
disco
is that
house.
Brandon?
It's just okay to dance.
It says Brandon.
It's just okay to dance to for me. Most people won't go out dancing to the music that I like. Where are my tech house and trance friends at?
Hold on. I like to go dancing.
I love
Most
you.
of my friends like disco house.
Yeah.
It's just okay to dance for me. Most people won't go out dancing to the music that I like. Where are my tech house and trance friends at? I'll go dancing with you, Brandon. Yeah. Aww.
I'm one of those friends. It's like if I'm not on K, I'm not going out. I don't listen to trance.
But
hey, the Castro Country Club